I'd like to introduce Chris Sims. Chris is a certified Scrum trainer, Agile coach, and a recovering C++ developer, helps organizations improve their productivity and happiness. He's also the founder of Agile Learning Labs and two of the best-selling Scrum books. Actually, his Elements of Scrum book was one of the first Scrum books I read.
Oh, I love hearing that.
Yeah, and then Scrum, a breathtakingly brief and agile introduction was another one. And you can find more information about him, Agile Learning Labs. And I'm going to mute you, Karen. Thanks. Okay, and also tonight's topic, we're going to talk about what actually separates high-performing teams from the rest, and some of the challenges that they face, and how to help self-managing teams navigate a variety of the little disasters that they face. So, Chris, I'm going to be quiet now and turn it over to you.
Well, thank you, Ken. I appreciate that introduction. And,
Yep.
hello, everybody. Thanks for coming out to hang out and kind of explore this. Want to do a quick fist to five. So if you got your camera on and can do fist to five, that's great. If you want to just put your number 0 to 5 in the chat, that's okay too. Um, how would you rate yourself in terms of familiarity with Scrum? And in particular, if I said the three pillars of Scrum, how familiar do you feel like you are? If you're like, oh, yeah, the three pillars of Scrum, of course, that's a five. And if you're like, three pillars of Scrum, what the heck are you talking about? That's a fist or a 0. And then any number in between. My only request is if you're going to give me a 1, please use this finger. So, how familiar are you with, do you feel like you are with Scrum and in particular, the three pillars of Scrum? Okay, some 2s, some 0s, some 3s. All right, I'm gonna do the three pillars of Scrum like lightning fast, just because I'm going to use it as a framework for us to look at what's going on with these teams in the work that we're going to do. So, all right, three pillars of Scrum. So Scrum is said to rest on these three things: transparency, inspection, adaptation. So transparency. Basically, this means that the important information is visible to all the people, right, involved, the team members, the key stakeholders, anyone who's involved in the work has access to all the key information. We're not hiding and hoarding and that sort of thing. Inspection. So it's not enough that the important information is visible. We actually have to build time into the way that we work to stop and look at it, right? Because if we don't look at it, it doesn't really matter that it was open and visible to us. So we gotta work in ways that give us a chance to intentionally look at the data and the key information. And then finally, adaptation, right? The whole reason we want to be able to see things and take time to look at them is that we expect we're going to discover things we didn't expect and need to adapt and change what we're doing. So, lightning version of the three pillars of Scrum. So, what we're going to be doing tonight is I'm going to break you up into, I think, three groups. And each group is going to do a little case study. And let me show you what the case studies look like. So this is one of them. So one of the teams is going to be working on the case study about Team Alpha. So each case study has a description of the team. And, generally, they're a high-performing, self-managing Scrum team. And they're very good, and they're awesome, and they're excellent. And as I explain here, the details of this awesomeness have intentionally been left vague. Because what I want you to do is engage your experience, your thought process about, what is a truly high-performing team? What do they look like? And in particular, we're going to look at them through these three lenses, right? Transparency, inspection, adaptation, as they face a difficult situation. So there'll be a scenario that describes what's going on that's a challenge. And then through each of these lenses, right? First, transparency. how do you think that this team currently makes things visible? Right? They're a high performing team. They're probably really good at, transparency. What do you think that looks like? And then how do you think they're going to be able to leverage that to effectively navigate this difficult situation? Similarly with inspection and adaptation. And then after your team has some time to kind of go through your group's case study, we're going to come back and each group's going to get some time to present what they came up with. And again, there's not a right or wrong answer. What I'm really interested to see is based on your experience, your view of the world, your knowledge, how do you think a high-performing team would navigate that case study? And in particular, looking at how they're doing it through those three lenses. So questions, let me pause for questions right there. Wow, did I do that good of a job of describing it? I'm so good. I love it. All right. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to send you off. I'm going to put 25 minutes. Well, let's make it 23 minutes on the main countdown timer. There'll be a 2-minute final countdown that shows up right at the end once the main countdown timer gets to 0. You know what? Let's make it 2 teams. That way the teams will be a little bit bigger and might have a little bit more diversity of thought and experience and input there. Except, where did you find this guy? Instead of making it 2 teams, I made it 4. Pay no attention to the man behind the curtain. There we go. All right. So links coming in the chat. Team 1 is going to work on the alpha case study. Team 2 is working on the beta case study. Team 1 is going to be Chuba, Doug, Maggie, and Sumesh. Team 2 is going to be Anu, Karen, Raghu, and Steven. I'm going to drop into your breakout room sometime in the first few minutes just to make sure that you got in there okay, and see if you have any questions or anything like that. At any time, if you want me to come back into your breakout room, there'll be a request help from the host option down at the bottom. Sometimes it goes to hide in the ... more. So you can use that option anytime when you're in the breakout room to call me into your breakout room and render assistance. All right. Questions before I send you off? All right, I'll drop in the first couple of minutes to see that you're off to a good start. Everybody, welcome back. So it was fun peeking into your documents and watching both groups make progress with these case studies. And so what we're going to do is share your work. So if you would start by reading your scenario. So both teams have, these high-performing teams, but the scenarios are very different. I will call out that both scenarios are actually based on these are like real-world case studies. Like these were companies I worked with. The names have been changed to protect the innocent and the guilty. But read your case study and then walk us through your analysis. And we'll start out with the beta team, team 2. So if you want to share your screen, feel free, but you don't have to. But if you want to, go for it.
Yeah, we would like to share. Thank you, Chris. And all right. So I'm going to read our case study to begin with, which is Team Beta is a high-performing, self-managing Scrum team. They implement the Scrum events effectively. They engage in a variety of effective backlog refinement activities. Their artifacts are highly visible and frequently updated. The organization is generally healthy and is supportive of Scrum and Scrum teams. The details of all this awesomeness have been intentionally left out. You will get to fill them in our awesome team beta is about to run into some trouble. The difference between great teams and the lesser teams isn't that great teams never have problems. The effective way that a team deals with a rough situation is one of the things that makes them a great team. So the summary is team beta is awesome benchmark team in a situated in a heavenly organization. And the scenario, the forecast doesn't look good. Team Beta has been in stealth mode, developing the company's next blockbuster video game. The company is planning to announce the new game with a splashy TV ad during the Super Bowl 3 months from now. The ad is paid for and ready to go. The team's forecast made using their past velocity, said that they should be able to deliver the game with a couple of weeks to spare. But this sprint, the team has made a troubling discovery. There's a bug in a third-party software library that the game depends on. The bug is making certain parts of the game slow and unstable. Occasionally, the game crashes and the player loses all of their unsaved progress. That's a big deal. The vendor of the third party says they will have a fix available in 6 months. The team could implement the functionality themselves and eliminate the dependency on the third-party library. They believe doing this would take them 2 to 4 months, in addition to the work they already have. Either of these options would push the first release of the game well past the Super Bowl Sunday. The stakeholders are currently unaware of the issue, and sprint review is coming up tomorrow. Goody, goody. So the analysis and application. We know that the team beta is a high-performing, self-managing team. What practices, tools, techniques, or procedures do you think they're using to promote the 3 pillars of empiricism? The transparency, inspection, and adaptation. For each of the pillars, explain how this ideal team's practices will help them to address the challenges they're facing. So we brainstormed, and then and our responses is, how do you believe this team makes things visible? So we're touching upon the first pillar, the transparency. I'm going to read the Scrum guide for the transparency, which is the emergent process and work must be visible to those performing the work as well as those receiving the work. So our team considered those who are receiving the work as of right now is mostly the stakeholders and the product owners. So our response to how this team meets the transparency requirement is sprint reviews coming up. So we don't need an additional meeting, but we can use that opportunity, and we must invite the right stakeholders to break the news. And during the sprint, the team presents the problem as well as suggested solutions. And the suggested solutions the team has right now is changing the scope and persuade the third party to reprioritize this fix. Hopefully they could fix in less time than 6 months. And we also would rely on our motto that we think with you as opposed to think for you. So we would solicit ideas and other mitigation plans from everybody in the room. So Chris, would you like me to go over all answers or pause for any?
However you want to structure it, yeah. Entirely up to you.
Yeah.
You're rocking it.
Okay. So at this point, I would like to look at the team and see if anybody wants to add anything or change anything before I move to the next response from us.
Raghu, do you want to add any additional explanations to the first point here? You are muted, you know that, right?
No, that's good. What Anu said is fine. I think I might say something on the next one. So
Okay. So the next one is, how will this transparency help them in dealing with their current challenge? It helps by bringing in more input from the extended team members, such as product owners and stakeholders. So there will be more feedback, and more transparency builds more trust between the team members internally.
and I thought that this would be a perfect opportunity for this team in a company that already understands Scrum to ensure that the senior stakeholders and of course the product owner who we believe is part of the team, hopefully understand that their role is not to be given solutions, but their role is actually to be working with the team to come up with solutions as needed. So, and that's a culture that we can continue to deploy
And
within the company. So,
yet, we do have our suggested solutions, but we are still open to
yes,
maybe they have something on top of that. We don't want to be a
exactly.
team who does not have solutions whatsoever. We
Yeah,
only raise the problems. We also have suggested solutions, but we're still very open to if they have better ones, right?
exactly.
That's
Good.
the benchmark
That's
team.
that's a good tension that Natalie and I had in the in the breakout as well. So cool. Good.
Moving on to the inspection, the 2020 Scrum Guide says the Scrum artifacts and the progress towards agreed goals must be inspected frequently and diligently to detect potentially desired variances or problems. In other words, checks and balances in place to foresee a problem like this. So the question is, what does this team do? Uh, this team do to frequently inspect their work product, how they're working, and their connections with stakeholders? Um, we think an automated integration testing with the third party at a regular cadence would be a good practice, and that would have detected the problem as early as possible, and which is what this team did, in my opinion, in our opinion. And the next question is, how will this inspection help them in dealing with their current challenge? It helps with the early identification of issues.
And also greater involvement from others when they find things. So it kind of creates uh, the team dynamic to get participating in these kinds of issues and resolution
Mhm,
of them. So
mhm, mhm. And moving on to the third pillar, adaptation. The 2020 Scrum Guide says a Scrum team is expected to adapt the moment it learns anything new through inspection. How do you believe this team will adapt to the current challenge? Describe how they should apply a countermeasure to reduce the impact of the following impact of the challenge. Um, Retrospective. That's the point of looking back and learning from the past experiences. During the retrospective, we would ideate and with product owners and senior stakeholders and implement a new service level agreement with the vendor to conduct better and more frequent testing and um, build stronger and better communication lines with the vendor. I
there's
think
one
this would
point I know
promote.
on the sorry, there's one point
Mhm.
on the retrospective. We may not have the senior stakeholders there. So the two separate points. One is retrospective. One what can we do better to identify these separate point identification, ideation with product owners, which we can do.
Mhm.
Very nice. Oh my goodness. Give it up for Team Beta. Oh my goodness. I love it. I love it. Oh my, and I can just feel the sense of some of the conversations that were happening just as you all are presenting your ideas and thoughts. I love it. I love it. Oh my goodness. Questions, thoughts, comments on that one? Nicely done. Nicely done. Let's see, which team should go next? Eeny, meeny. Oh, Team Alpha. Tell us about your scenario and your analysis of the situation. I recognize this. This is that awkward moment where we didn't talk about who was going to present. I recognize this. Team one, what do you got for us?
Garrett. You see my screen?
There it is.
Okay, so I think it's the same details about the team
Right.
being an awesome team. The scenario is technical debt. A vendor who makes a code library that our product depends on is going out of business. Our company acquired the rights to the source code for that library so that we can continue to build and maintain it ourselves. Everyone's pleased since the library was a bit buggy and the vendor was slow to implement fixes and enhancements. We already have important new features on the roadmap, which will be enabled by enhancements we plan to make to the library code. Team Alpha has begun working in the library code and it is worse than we expected. Code appears to have been developed by a variety of contractors who weren't working together, didn't follow any common coding standards, and none of it has automated tests. Our team knew it would be scary to take over someone else's code base, but they really weren't ready for this level of technical debt. Sales and marketing is looking for guidance regarding the availability of important new features. So for transparency, what we had talked about is number one, don't make the technical debt a secret or a black box. Make coding standards known to everyone on the team and the stakeholders for what the expectations are. Scoring the work items in the backlog refinement would allow them to prioritize the high value versus the high cost work that goes along with those features. And by this, they would help level set for necessary refinement in the backlog. They'll get buy-in on the rapid value delivery, better decision making, specifically around prioritization within the backlog of what gives value versus what will take the most time. And it will help make technical dependencies visible. Any questions on that or anything that anybody wants to add?
Sounds good.
Okay, move on to inspection. So the items that we identified for inspection is to demo those new features and notify the stakeholders of all the code base improvements that went along with that. And then as you develop the features that engineers would do code reviews and peer reviews of each other's work to ensure that they're following the new standards. One thing, as I was reading it again, that I didn't think about before was the fact that they didn't have automated testing. So they probably should implement automated testing and review the results of those.
Good catch.
And this helps them deal with the challenge by communicating upfront costs that will help them set better expectations for all the stakeholders when the roadmap needs a change. Questions or anything that anybody wants to add? All right. For adaptation, they would have trade-offs between the code base and the new features being made clear and providing opportunities to buy into them. The team, by owning this code now, fix the code fixes rather than relying on that third party. The team is now empowered to rapidly prioritize fixes that they define as high value and implement them more rapidly. It would also reduce the bugs that they're identifying. And it was saying how the vendor, it took them a long time to develop new enhancements. So this should reduce the time for them to be able to do that. Anyone want to add anything to that?
Yeah, one thing that comes to my mind is, was there some type of looking at the library by some developers on this team just to see how their code is before acquiring the whole technical debt? If there was some inspection type of thing that was done before, now that we got this technical debt, and then now we realized pretty much they didn't follow good coding standards. What can we do better next time? So in the future, if we acquire another library, how would we correctly assess the standards of their coding?
So that it is not a surprise next time it happens, right?
Right, exactly.
Yeah, good catch.
Nice, very nice.
Good question.
Yay. Nicely done, team number one, Team Alpha. Give it up for Team Alpha. So like I say, both of these were real things. I've changed a couple of the identifying details here and there, but I've been through both of these situations. And it is interesting to see, like, oh, how do high-performing teams and healthy organizations react to, really difficult situations that come up. I'm curious for you all now, having looked at your case studies and thinking about how a high-performing team, would react to it. What are some of the things that you think maybe are hallmarks? Like separate like high-performing teams from lesser, right? Or healthy organizations from less healthy organizations. And how do those differences show up when facing a really tough situation like this? I'm just curious.
Well, like the transparency number one is like just start working on things head down without taking input from other people, from other stakeholders. Just, oh no, now we're screwed and it's gonna look badly on us. Let's just dig in and to the code base, or let's just, I don't know, with the bug one. Try to take it on ourselves rather than having a high transparency.
Yeah. Yeah. And how many of you have seen that, right? Like,
Yeah,
oh my goodness, there's this huge problem. We're probably not going to make the deadline, and everyone just works really hard, but we don't really tell our stakeholders exactly. We're like hoping and praying that if we work hard enough, it'll all be fine. I've been there. Right.
I agree. I concur. The immediate, almost knee-jerk reaction is to try to fix it or hide it. It's in our psychology.
Mhm. Yeah. Yeah. It turns out the openness and the transparency, like they sound beautiful, but they're actually hard when the stakes are high, right?
Mhm.
Yeah, it takes courage. What else? What other things to stand out for people? Mo, thanks for stopping by. What other things stand out as kind of like the hallmarks of high performing teams, healthy organizations, and how those things show up?
So I would like to mention the thing where we combined together with Raghu's approach, mine approach with Raghu's approach, where we are, when disclosing the situation, we are describing the problem, yes, and then we are coming up with suggested solution, which means we already did our homework to come up with some ideas of solutions. But at the same time, we are very open if you guys, stakeholders, I mean, or whoever else, can come up with even better ones. Yep, definitely, we're open to that. That is, I guess, also a very strong feature of a high-performing team. What do you guys think?
Yeah, I like it, right?
Absolutely.
It speaks to we're doing our homework, we're on top of the situation, and we realize that by pulling in others, especially maybe people in the organization who have different influence or, different perspectives, different connections, um, perhaps we actually all can do better than any of the things we thought of. I love that.
Yeah, I like to add that, Natalie, that approach will bring more unity in the team as opposed to the us versus them mentality.
Yeah.
And I would like to add something regarding the retrospective. Retrospective is the best opportunity to do the postmortem and learn from the past mistakes. I think a good team is very enthusiastic about that postmortem um, without being fearful that, okay, who is going to get blamed now?
Like in your suggestion for Team A, I really liked how you suggested, okay, and going forward, if another merger and acquisition happens, we should better estimate the code quality before the actual acquisition, right? It's one great lesson to learn from this situation.
Right. Yeah. You put it well, Natalie. Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely.
Let me, how do I say it? The challenge is companies have a culture, and the culture is what teams then react to or adapt to. And that culture says, don't tell me problems. I just want to hear the good news. Or I don't want to hear you come and tell me at the last minute that something is going on, right? So teams behave the way they do because the organization has a culture that determines how the teams should operate. And in fact, I've seen situations where the leaders of the organization of that particular unit might even coach the team to say such and such a person doesn't like to hear bad news, so don't say it. So it's like you're being constantly coached out of saying bad news. And if that's the way the leadership operates, it's it's difficult for a team to behave any differently. So, which is why the preamble on this, at least for Team Beta, said that the company understands Scrum, and therefore, we could do what we could do. Otherwise, we might be in a different situation, and therein lies the more and systemic issue for teams. Team behavior is totally a function of the organizational culture, I think.
This is why I believe when you come up, when you disclose an issue and at the same time you present a possible solution, it mitigates a little bit the pain of the issue for the stakeholders, right?
It does, but it is feeding into that behavior, Natalie. That's where the pushback was. It's feeding into that because I've heard leaders say this explicitly Don't tell me problems, tell me solutions.
Mhm.
Well, if I can tell you problems and solutions, then you are a leader because what? You have worked in this company for many years, therefore you're a leader. What is it that makes you a leader? You have to
Yeah.
have subject matter expertise as well. You want to be contributing to the whole thing. So we need to kind of, that's where I agree with you. If the team knows solutions, they should offer it. But the team may
Yeah.
have no solutions. And the team
Yeah.
should be able to say, we at this point don't know what to do, but this is because sprint review is tomorrow. They just discovered it. Maybe they don't have a solution by tomorrow, but they
Yeah.
should have. They should. There should be safety
Yeah, I agree with
Yeah.
for
you.
them
Yeah,
to say it at that
I
time.
agree. Yeah.
And the things I hear in there, right, is there is this almost spectrum of what the leadership culture and dynamic could potentially be, right? On uh, one extreme, there is the I've seen cultures where everybody's afraid to act, and so all they do is like, oh, there's this problem, right? And we need someone above us to fix it, right? Um,
Yes.
and on the other hand, um, the healthier side of that is kind of what's the book? Does it Turn This Ship Around? Is that the book? I think it is. Yeah,
David
I see
Marquet.
Mm,
heads nodding,
David
where
Marquet.
it's the type
Yep.
of leader who is very much an empowering leader, but also creating psychological safety, right? Which is kind of, I think, the healthiest version of bring me solutions, right? Yes, bring me problems, but also, offer me options, right? You're smart people. What do you think would be best, right? Yeah, we can collaborate around that. So I love that. I love that. Ken, I see your hands up.
Yeah,
totally.
I'm thinking about like a conversation I had today with one of the leaders where the way that we even approach the problem and talk about it can help with that a little bit. So, for example, we're talking about impediments to adoption of Scrum and other things right now with leaders. And, we talk about, you know, how much influence do the teams actually have on this? Or do they have control over it? Do they have influence over it? Or is this something that's outside of their control? But also, rather than talking about impediments, let's talk about improvements, right? Because then that changes the psychology a little bit, right? Where it's not impediments, because people don't want to be talking about impediments a lot of the time because of that culture of, oh, I don't want to talk about the bad things and it's going to make people view it. So let's change it to improvements or other things like that. So just throwing that out there as another thing.
Yeah. Yeah. And in some of the like coaching coaches work that I've done, um, I've more than once encountered, uh, a coach who gets dropped into a situation and very quickly gets overwhelmed, and they're like, "Oh my goodness, this organization's a complete disaster. They're doing everything wrong," and it's like, okay, awesome, because A, somebody who holds at least spending authority there cares enough that you're there, right? And B, if everything's wrong, as an improvement person, it's like a target rich environment, right? It's like pick someplace where can we make an improvement, right? So I like that improvement focused kind of framing of it, because it's like, wow, there's lots of opportunities to make things better here. Uh, yeah, Anu.
Yes, in a big organization, where there is an existing culture to only talk about the positives, and if there is a negative,
Mhm.
hide it, or even worse, find a scapegoat.
Yeah, oh,
In that environment, from what I have seen, the cultural change, it worked well when it came from the middle management as opposed to the individual contributors levels, or even higher up from the C-suite. When the when the when the cultural change was brought from top down approach, in my experience, I have seen it fail um, due to it just being few voices and it's coming from an authority. So it's not going to be received well.
It's like a
And
bureaucracy imposed on you, right?
yes. And then when it comes from the bottom, there's not enough power. But the middle management was able to, I have seen middle management was able to bring upon some cultural change. But I also think they take the blow from both sides to bring that approach.
Yeah, yeah. And it also, I think, speaks to something that I see in organizations that are being successful adopting Scrum and applying it versus ones that struggle is like, what are those people in that middle management layer supposed to do? Because pre-Scrum, their role was all about taking the orders from on high and parceling them out and then, pushing them down below. And very often, their work was about getting the work done. And if we're trying to structure the organization around teams now, self-organizing teams, well, then what we're delivering is all about backlogs and product owners owning that. So that means we kind of want to get the managers out of the business of deciding what we're doing, right? Which is a big change. Um, and usually what we want to get them into the business of is functioning at the meta level, which is like, how does the organization function? Not what are we doing, but how does it function? So that's culture, that's supporting processes, all of that stuff, around. It's like coaching individuals, that sort of work. And that's a big shift for those people in the middle. And so I think that's one of the things that differentiates organizations that have been more successful with this than less is paying attention to that middle management layer and helping them see, like, how do their roles change? How is it that we need different things from them, right? Because otherwise they're going to do what they've always done, right? Which is try to get the work done. And it's like now everybody down at the team has like a product owner who's asking for stuff and a manager who's asking for stuff. Great. Right? So nice. Fernando.
Yes, I wanted to discuss another perspective, which is in on these scenarios, some of the decisions could have an impact on the stock value. For example, delaying a game,
Mhm. Oh yeah.
releasing a game with bugs after a lot of advertisement could actually tank the stock. So those are decisions that the team should not make, but the team should inform the business.
Mm.
It should inform, this is what we found, these are the alternatives. Alternative A has this cost, these consequences in time or effort.
Mhm.
Um, but unfortunately, that's not what I see usually. I see what you were mentioning, pressure to deliver, middle management, they are rewarded for the features
Mhm.
they're releasing or helping create or driving, and they don't see technical depth. That's why, well, it might be difficult to make it visible, but it's important to do it and to find a way to do it.
Yeah. And it really does kind of come back to that, what sort of kind of like cultural environment has been created. And the people who create that environment are by and large leaders, right? Many of whom are official leaders, because you can look at the org chart and see that they hold high positions. But also every organization has those people who are very influential regardless of their spot on the org chart, right?
Yeah.
And those are the people who create that culture that is either a culture of, hey, it's safe to tell us the bad news, because the sooner you tell us the bad news, the more options we have for dealing with it, versus organizations where the culture is like, you don't want to be the one to say the bad news. right? We tend to kill the messengers here. Yeah,
Very true.
yeah.
To Fernando's point, I mean, wasn't it Challenger where when Feynman did the kind of post Challenger, what
Right.
happened?
Mhm.
There were
Mhm.
actually people that told that there is this problem with the heat shield and the glue and stuff like
The
that. There were
O-rings.
people that had
Yeah.
actually had mentioned about it, and it wasn't considered
Mm.
because they had a time, they have a deadline, and they needed to meet it. And it can be, I mean, that's the extreme case of disaster. But to your
Mm.
point, it could be a stock that goes down, or it could be losing phase, poor marketing for a long time, lots of challenges. So
Yeah,
fair point.
yeah. Other observations, thoughts, questions?
So I was going to ask you, where have you found this good good team, good company combination?
I have
Because it
definitely
is hard to find. That's
it it
it is hard to find.
it is hard to find, and very often it's sadly temporary, right? Where temporary
Yes.
might mean 5 to 10 years of goodness, but it tends to go in cycles. I'm thinking
Yeah.
of a company I worked with early in Agile Learning Labs journey. So this is probably like 15, 18 years ago. That was amazing to work with. This company did back-end insurance industry software, and they really went all in on the Scrum stuff, and it made a huge difference. Like, releases were coming more frequent. They went from like every 2 years to every quarter. Quality went up, like the quality of life for the people who work there went up. Like it was great, right? And they were growing by acquisition. So every time they acquired a company, I got to go work with the new company and help kind of get them on board. Um, and then there were changes at the board level, and they brought in a new, executive to lead things, and this executive brought in their people that they had worked with at their last company, and this agile stuff, this doesn't make any sense. And right, like within a year and a half, like the culture was totally different. And sadly, I've seen that pattern several times. I have seen companies though where they've maintained healthy, productive, agile cultures for a long time. I mean, one that I've been working with for at least 15 years is Dolby. And, by and large, very healthy culture internally and teams that are very productive. And I mean, there's variation, of course, team to team, product line to product line, but by and large, right, very healthy. And I think it does go to the culture that the leaders created and invest in continuing to maintain. So, the good ones are out there, and some of them do last, right? Like Dolby's been healthy the whole time I've been with them. But yeah, alas, some of them tend to be good for a while and then not so great, right? And so on and so forth.
Chris, did you say Dolby or Adobe?
Dolby, Dolby.
Yeah, the audio company. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Other thoughts, comments, questions? All right. I want to leave you with a little bit of Turn the Ship Around. Thanks for the link, Ken. It's an amazing book. Um, and here's a link where you can find my upcoming events. So I do a fair amount of like presenting at meetups and stuff. So lots of opportunities to hang out for free. I do free open office hours, usually twice a month. December, it's just once. January, is it twice or once? Looks like twice. Yay. Um, so, come hang out. And if you know someone that you love and care about or at least like a little, who would benefit from adding, a certified Scrum Master or product owner to their resume. Unemployed folks get an automatic discount on all the workshops that I do. Like right on the registration page, there's a special button for them. So feel free to pass that information on to those folks. With that said, I am really honored, thrilled, and happy to get to hang out with you all this evening. I hope this was a good investment of your time. And I appreciate all of the thought and engagement that you all put into this activity. So thank you.
You, Chris, really appreciate the exercise and the engagement of everybody engaged and involved with us. Glad you folks got a lot out of it. I think it was awesome.
It was fun. Thank you,
Yeah,
Chris. It was
really
fun.
appreciate it.
Yeah,
And
I'm grateful for the workshop. It's great.
yeah, it was lovely to work with our incredible team beta.
Team Beta in
Yeah,
the
thanks,
house.
Chris.
Awesome. So just a reminder again, January 28th, we got lightning talks. If you're interested in speaking, please reach out to one of our organizers.
Yes, that's important, guys. It helps with promoting your personal brand. We are recording all our presentations. We're uploading them to our YouTube channel. So you will have a chance to then share it with anyone you want to. Definitely, if you have a talk in mind, I'm always here to do a dry run with you, to be your first audience.
Good.
Yeah, reach out to us.
Oh, that's amazing.
Thank you,
Awesome.
guys. Thank
Thank
you,
Thank you very
Chris,
much.
so
Thank you,
much.
folks. Everybody have a great evening. Thanks again so much, Chris. Really appreciate it.
Yeah,
And thanks to
very
the
much.
co-organizers,
Thanks.
Natalie and Fernando as well for helping us out tonight.
Bye,
Thank
guys.
Thank you,
you.
everyone. Have a good
Yeah.
night.
Good night.
Night.
Be well.
Night.
Take care.
Thank you. I came in later, but thank you so much. I did get to